Hello, inventors and entrepreneurs. My name is Courtney Laskowicz. I am the managing director here at Inventors Groups of America, and welcome to Inventors Online. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining us tonight. Is anyone new here to Inventors Online? If so, go ahead and flash your hands in front of the screen. Welcome, welcome. Wonderful. Thank you guys so much for joining for your very first Inventors Online. Now, IGA was founded in 2017 by Stephen Key and Andrew Krause, who are on with us tonight. Now, IGA's goal is twofold: to teach individuals how to best commercialize their product ideas, as well as strengthen and support inventor groups throughout the nation. Now, on our website, we have a directory of local and regional inventors groups whom we meet with every single month. And if you are located near one, we highly encourage you to join. Now, we'd love to know who you are, so go ahead right now and type in your name into the chat box on the bottom right-hand corner. Please go ahead and state what state and or country you are from. We love to hear that and look through all the chat at the very end, so please feel free to do that. Of course, please remember to not disclose anything that is confidential and is not already publicly available. Of course, our meeting is being recorded and will be harnessed on our website and YouTube channel soon after. Of course, feel free to change your name in the participants panel. Choose to be in gallery mode at any time so you can see everyone. And though it is not required, we would love for you to turn on your video. Of course, this is a Q&A, so please go ahead and type in your questions early into the chat box. We'll be looking at that throughout the presentation. And with that said, let's get into the deep topic that we've got today. With 10,500 stores across 24 countries and an e-commerce business that is predicted to do $75 billion in sales this year, Walmart is a dream retailer for many inventors. But how do you improve your chances of selling at Walmart? Do you need inventory? How important is intellectual property? Now today, gracing us with her presence, former Associate General Counsel, Intellectual Property and Patent Operations Lead at Walmart Stores, Inc. will be our guest of honor. Now, she has an incredible wealth of experience in the IP field and is committed to helping inventors. As the founder of Precipice IP, she helps entrepreneurs and technology-focused businesses protect their products, brands, designs, and data. She has also served at the USPTO, Stephen will get into, as well as a director on the board of the Patent Pro Bono Advisory Council. Are you ready for her to pull back the curtain on how large corporate entities like Walmart evaluate new inventions? Give it up for a nationally recognized lawyer, speaker, and author, and oh, so much more. Our speaker of the night, Angela Grayson.
Thank you so much. You are my hype man, Courtney. I need you in my life, like seriously. Thank you so much for that incredibly warm welcome. I'm delighted to be here. And I can't wait to talk all things IP with you guys.
Wonderful. We really appreciate you being here and sharing your wealth of knowledge with the audience. And with that said, Stephen, would you like to start us off and say a little bit about Angela?
I'm ready. I am so ready because number one, everyone, this is really a special time, I think, for you and for me, especially because I went ahead and looked at Angela's resume, and I think I'm a pretty busy guy, and I do a few things here and there. She makes me look like I'm sleeping on the couch all day long, that I haven't even got out of bed. And my first question, I mean, you're on so many advisory boards, you help so many people. How do you have time? First of all, easy question. How do you have time to do so many things? How do you manage your time? Because the things that you do, it's incredible. Yes.
That is such a great question. And I sometimes wonder myself when I am working on something on a Saturday afternoon, which is actually very rare. So here's my thing. I believe very much in bookending my life. The weekends are reserved for my family and myself. So the weekends are reserved for my family and my well-being. The week is reserved for everybody else for the most part. And so whatever I can do in really 8 to 10 hours, I can get it done.
Now, wait a minute.
I'm highly scheduled though, that's the thing. I'm highly scheduled.
I know you're working more than 8 hours a day.
I'm pretty sure I don't work more than a regular 8-hour day. When it's 6 or 7, like this is actually rare. I'm definitely done working by 6:30.
Okay. So how many advisory boards are you on and board of directors? How many of those organizations are you on? Do you even have a count?
God, so many.
How many? Is it?
Great. I don't, I really should count, but I do, maybe I don't count because I don't want to be shocked by the number.
It's over a dozen. I think I count. I think it's over a dozen that.
I think over the course of time, certainly, but at any given time, I'd say maybe 6.
Okay.
Maybe 6
That's a big commitment, and that's really giving back. So I want to start at the very beginning, because you were a patent examiner.
Started out, yeah.
I mean, is that where you found the love of patents, or why did you go down that path?
Well, that's a funny story. So I'm originally from Mississippi. I don't know if you guys can hear the twang or not. I live full time in Northwest Arkansas. So I am definitely a Southern girl. I went to the University of Mississippi. I went to Delta State. I went to all Mississippi schools. And when I finished law school, I knew I wanted to be in the IP field. But with a master's in chemistry, I knew that I wanted to really focus on patents. And where I thought I could get the most mentoring, the best foundation, was actually working at the USPTO. And it was a brilliant move on my part because I got to learn the patent system from the inside out.
And that probably helps now when you're looking at intellectual property for people, for companies or startups, given that everything's going to land at the USPTO eventually, and you're going to have to deal with the patent examiner. Is that correct?
Right, that's right. And, I have a lot of respect for examiners. I mean, you'll run into one or two that might be very difficult, but it's not hard for me to put myself in their shoes. Okay. They've got a job to do. They've got a very short amount of time to do it in. When I advocate for trademark applications or patent applications, for example, I really rely on opinions that come out of the PTAB and the TTAB more so than I rely on citing stuff from the Federal Circuit. And I rely on citing things from the trademark and patent manual because those are the things that the examiner can relate to. Right. And the idea is to get the patent or the trademark as quickly as possible with the broadest rights. So that's just an example of how that experience has really shaped me.
Well, that's amazing that you said that, because I think that's what we're all, some of us are dealing with. We'll get to that a little bit later. But given that you know that perspective from a patent examiner, how important that if I'm working with a patent attorney or patent agent, how important is their bedside manner when they do an office action interview? How important is that to find the right guy that can do that? Because that's a kind of a delicate situation. Now, everybody, just so I can frame this right, you file for a non-provisional patent application, the USPTO is examining it, and they find maybe some prior art, which they always do. And although it doesn't seem like it relates to my idea at all, but they do find it. Sure. And they send this office action to your patent attorney or patent agent. And now what do? You have this problem, you have to overcome a situation. So, but those interviews are really important. Are they? Or yes, and how do you navigate that?
I think the interviews are very important. And I think the most important thing is to develop a respectful rapport with the examiner. Sometimes we scientists forget that we are among the human race, and we forget how important it is soft skills are. Okay. And to approach people with respect, to assume that someone, so I've had one client who's, why is this examiner, why does he hate me? I can promise you he has no idea who you are. He's just doing his job, right?
Okay.
And so let's talk about, let's be kind, let's be respectful, let's, thank you for pointing this out, examiner. I respectfully disagree. Here's where I think maybe we need to hone it, right? Really appeal to the person's sense of duty. And your job as the advocate is to tell the right story, which clearly is not coming across. So I think it's about perspective. I think it's about respect. And that's really where advocacy comes in. And sometimes people don't realize how important that is in this process, because it is a negotiation. That's what this whole process is.
Well, it is. But just so everybody knows, the patent office is not against us, is it? I mean, don't they want us to have patents?
Yes.
Okay. I want everybody to understand that, because at the very beginning, when I was filing all my patents, I kind of thought they were against me. They didn't want me to have a patent, and the whole system was against me. But that's not really true, is it? They're in the business for us to be, well, innovators, inventors, and they want those innovations to come to market. Is that correct?
That is absolutely right. And, from my perspective, I saw my job as making sure that I didn't give away overbroad rights.
Okay.
And that's what, they're the gatekeeper of that. And so what you're doing is this dance of, he thinks you're entitled to one thing and you think you're entitled to something else, and finding that place in the middle. And that's really all it is.
Okay. I want to talk about Walmart, right? Because that's kind of what we're talking about here. Why and how did you land at Walmart, and what did you do for them?
So what a phenomenal story. So my master's is in quantum chemistry. How I landed at Walmart, nobody would ever be able to figure that out by looking at my resume. But the thing that really got me back to what I call the South, although people in Northwest Arkansas would call this really the Midwest-ish, I really wanted to be closer to my family.
Oh.
End of story, full stop. I really do love the breadth of experience that I've gotten, because I never thought about working for a retailer before. But the company needed someone to help them stand up their patent operations, because at the time, they really wanted to, and this is me paraphrasing, sort of transition to a technology company. Even though, yes, Walmart sells socks, they also are selling against Amazon. And Amazon at the time just had a ton of tech, and they had a ton of patents. And, they really wanted to activate the intellectual property capital in the company. And so they wanted to, stand up the patent operations. And so I came to help with that. And it was so much fun. So computational chemistry, right, was my background. And most of the IP that I worked on for Walmart was in the, what they call the ISD, the Information Systems Division. So it was an interesting kind of juxtaposition between a company that's selling socks with all this IT. And it was just very interesting. I mean, Walmart is actually highly innovative. Walmart had Scan and Go as one of the first companies to do that, because of what they built with the pickup, and I suppose the Walmart pickup business. That was actually working in development long before the pandemic, and laying the groundwork for those kinds of traditional juxtaposed with, technology, allowed the company to do exceptionally well through this very weird time, right, that we're in. So the company is really a big time technology company, even though it may not appear to people that way. I think the company has experienced a ton of growth in the last 18 to 24 months because of the groundwork that they laid there.
No, I don't think any of us would think of Walmart that way. Okay. And so I would think that they're pro-patent because they're filing patents. Would that be correct? And I think that also, so patents are important to them for their business. But they don't care for us entrepreneurs, startups selling products at Walmart. They don't care about our patents, do they? Is that a concern at all?
So I think that, if people were to think about it this way, not so much that Walmart doesn't care about your patents, but nobody should care more about your patents than you. Because what Walmart cares about is selling product. What you care about is selling product. And if you don't have intellectual property that can protect your right to sell that product, you won't be selling product. You won't be selling product. You won't benefit from that product being sold. And so that's why you should care more, I think, than Walmart. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about if I have a product that I'm selling at Walmart and a competitor comes out that's kind of infringing on my patent of my product selling at Walmart, does Walmart care?
If the product is being, so I still stand by, you've got to care more Walmart because you're not going to benefit from that.
Well, I know, but what could, if I told Walmart that, hey, this is my product, I've got a trademark, I've got a utility patent, and here's a product that you're selling that infringes upon mine, would they care?
They would care, but the person who's selling that product has got to care more because Walmart supplier agreements say that you're going to have to indemnify them.
Oh.
So that's a big deal.
So they keep clean, they're clean, they're from it. They don't.
That's right. Now they're going to get in the middle of it because they're the one selling it, but they're going to politely take that demand letter to the person who actually owns that product and say, take care of this.
But what happens, that makes sense. Okay, they're protecting themselves and let that person take care of it. But do you know if any cases where Walmart looked at that and says, that's probably something that's not appropriate, we should probably take that down, or we're getting bad reviews because of that's not good for our brand carrying a knockoff?
I'm not familiar with any of that, but I would say that, all of that sounds reasonable. But I'll tell you that, when they get a demand letter, they are going to reach out to the person who sold them that product, and they're going to want to understand whether or not the product is infringing. Because we're sort of talking about Walmart, but it's also important to realize that when you sell a product to a store, let's say like Walmart, you're going to have to agree to a lot of terms and conditions in their supplier agreement. And while I haven't read Target's supplier agreement or Walgreens or whatever, usually, right, you are repping, you are providing representations, and you are providing a warranty that you will sell them non-infringing products. And if they get caught up in any type of dispute, you are going to indemnify them or reimburse them a ton of legal fees.
Ooh.
So it really is it's important. Like, this is kind of the cost of doing business.
Got it.
If you're going to sell at that scale, at that platform, these are the things that you have to promise. You have to promise you're not infringing, and then you have to reimburse them. So if you're in a situation where you've got a product and you've got the IP, but they've also allowed some other product on the shelf that infringes, you may send that letter to Walmart, which, by the way, you may not want to because you're doing business with them. Maybe you send that letter directly to the product holder, to the product owner, right? And say, but that's how that sausage gets made.
Because if I ever got in a fight with Walmart, they probably wouldn't want to carry my product anymore. Is that correct too?
Yeah, that's a business, right? That's going to be one of those business decisions that really the fight is not with Walmart. The fight is with that product owner.
I understand.
And that's kind of where you have to pick and choose your battles.
How much were you involved with just, I was a Walmart vendor, right? And I sold, but it took, I was selling in 1,000 stores before I ever got to Walmart. Yeah. So when I got to Walmart, I was ready for Walmart, and they knew I was ready, and jumping through the hoops to get to be a vendor at Walmart is not an easy thing. It was very, it took months and months, and they wanted to make sure I was really ready for that. What is, if anybody was listening tonight that wanted to say at Walmart, because that's everybody's dream, right? Okay, they're like they're like
That's the number one question I get on LinkedIn. Trust me. That's the number one question. And I don't mind the question, but I can say that I spent all of my time in legal. I reached out to a friend of mine who is a broker who used to be a vice president at Walmart. And I did an interview with her. Would you mind if I put a link in the chat to the interview that I did? Let's
Please.
see if I have this up. And people can you sign up and get that access to that interview. And I asked her all the questions that you've asked me for the most part about does Walmart care about people who want to license their product? Because let's just get to the chase. Because I actually have several of your books. I actually read several of your books long before you and I met. And I love your suggestion about making sure that you're ready, starting small. I think that is phenomenal advice. And also understanding your audience, people who are interested in licensing products that don't exist. Let me put it that way, right? Prophetic products, if you will. Walmart generally doesn't do that. Walmart is interested in selling products. So they're not really that interested in taking a licensing idea that you have and finding a factory to make it. But if you, on the other hand, went and found a factory and created a proposal and had an audience with Walmart, they might actually be interested.
Oh.
But because I also used to get a ton of confidential submissions. Hey, I've got this product idea. Hey, I've got this IP. You got to know your audience. The company is generally not interested in that. They want to sell product. Now, that's not to say that they're not services vendors, right? People sell manicuring services, dental services, right? But if you're talking about licensing a product concept, you're at the wrong place.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And a lot of people come to me and say, look, will a retailer license? Probably not. And what about a commodity they're currently selling? Because I know a lot of the big retailers do commodity products like mayonnaise and ketchup and whatever. But they don't look at new things. They sell products that currently exist. They sell well, and they have the shelf space and
they cut out the middleman and reduce their costs.
Pretty much, but they're not going to do anything new. I'm just curious if Walmart's got very high standards and they want to make sure that you're doing a good job, you can supply it, and they really try to help you be successful. That's what I walked away from. And people, you hear these stories that Walmart, they'll destroy your business. Those stories used to run around years and years ago. You don't hear those so much anymore because they're really there. They want you to be successful. And they're going to help you be successful because if you are, they are. Everybody is going to win if you win and have a good product. Is that what you've?
It is. It absolutely is. I mean, I don't know if it's really an urban legend, or if maybe that was one of the ways that the company really made it, because the company back in the old days, and maybe obviously to a large extent now, the company competes on being the low cost provider. So as you say, for commodity products, absolutely, it's really difficult to figure out how you're going to beat Walmart with cost when they can get 5 billion tons from somewhere else.
Yep.
But the company is also looking for the next great thing. They really do want new stuff. Do you remember maybe 6 or so years ago, Patti LaBelle's sweet potato pie? That's something that didn't exist before. Like, they want to capitalize on great trends.
Okay.
So I think that you're absolutely right. They want you to be successful. But the other thing that's really important, right, is they want to make sure that they are creating shelf space for products that sell. And this is kind of where the scrappy product developer can really play, because you've got social media, you've got TikTok. If you can provide to Walmart kind of this portfolio. Hey, I've got 30,000 people on Instagram following me. I've got like this, and that's a great indication that if they were to carry that product, that you already have an embedded audience.
Well,
and so, but you build that before you get to Walmart. So again, you've got to be ready to sell to Walmart.
Yeah, you know what's really interesting about that? When I was selling to Walmart, we had a track record of physically selling to small stores. But there's someone that we work very close with that has that audience, that sells online, that has shown, but has not done any brick and mortar, had no retail. So they went to Walmart, got a sales rep that knew the ins and outs, how to ship correctly, all that kind of great stuff. And they took that product and they placed it in a good test at the very beginning. But they had no retail experience, but they still took it because they had the social media eyeballs.
That's right.
I mean, that's fairly new, isn't it? Because
I think so. But I started Precipice in 2015 and I left Walmart in 2016. And from 2016 forward, I think social media to sell products really sort of came into its own right in this last 5 to 6 year period.
Okay.
I never really noticed the ability to do that before. Like Instagram and Facebook have created tags that you can purchase products directly in a post. Like all of that stuff is fairly new.
Yeah.
So absolutely. And I think also Walmart is keenly interested. Like they're not a company who's afraid to acquire businesses that fill a niche or fill a gap for them.
Okay.
And so they've acquired several online only retail businesses, right? Because they were trying to build up that online presence. So I think that it's really about a compelling story. And you're right, there are so many great people who live in Bentonville who have this expertise because they actually used to work at Walmart and now they are brokers, right? Yeah. They're sort of selling that knowledge and that relationship as well.
Do you think we're going to see a shelf on Walmart that says "as seen on TikTok"? Is that coming?
It could happen because you say that kind of in a joking way, but local managers, local store managers have a lot of leeway. I think they actually can have a certain amount of new product in their store. So if they want to do it, they absolutely can.
Well, it happened at Barnes and Noble. So it's probably coming everywhere. All right, I want to switch this topic a little bit about protecting products. Can we protect ideas anymore? I mean, no, let's put it this way. Can we protect my invention? Can I really protect it? Can I protect it from online sellers? Can I protect it from people stealing it from me? Can I protect it?
I think the answer is yes. I always tell people to get as much intellectual property protection as you can afford. There are things that you can do in particular, and in fact, it may be better. I was just on a webinar, Copyright Office had a great webinar today just on food and copyrights, which you would think, really? But one of the things that person talked about was the medium for which he is selling his food through videos, through things that garner copyright protection, because it's easier to get because certain platforms have policies around enforcing intellectual property. So if you do have a product and you are selling on Amazon or eBay or Etsy, I haven't checked with Etsy, but I know for certain Amazon has an intellectual property enforcement policy, and it works best when you have registered IP. If you do not have registered IP.
Wait a minute. Don't they knock you off too? I'm going to hit you hard with this. Doesn't Amazon knocking off products too?
Well, Amazon spoke to that, right? Because they were being accused of antitrust and unfair practices. And I think that they would say no. But what I think people need to realize is that if you don't have any intellectual property protections, you really are giving away your best ideas for people to rip off. And that is something that people don't want to hear, but it's true. But if you have IP protections, you got brand you've got a registration or pending application, if you've got a copyright registration,
Okay.
those are two very powerful things that you can use on those platforms.
All right, so the platforms, the selling platforms have certain rules and regulations on if you have IP, they'll take it off. So what do I need? Online, for online sellers to stop the copycats, what would you recommend as my top 3 IP tools?
Oh my God, I'm so glad you asked this question. And guys, this was not even set up. This is like a great question. You must have a trademark registration or a trademark application at the USPTO. Full stop.
Okay.
If you can, and it makes sense, having a copyright registration at the US Copyright on some aspect of that product. Now, here's an example, right? So you can't get a copyright registration on the product itself because you can't get a registration on useful things. There's some exceptions to that, like, for example, Kanye West sneakers and so forth. But for the most part, if you're able to get those 2 things, those can be exceptionally powerful things. Because if you've got a product, do you have a product manual, kind of a little sheet on how it works? Those small things you can get copyright registrations on. And if someone's going to rip you off on one aspect, they're probably going to rip you off on all of it. And so, you know, that's another tool. I also think design patents are very powerful. People talk, and I hate to hear this, when, you know, I'm at sort of these investor meetings, and these angels have sort of been brainwashed to believe that design patents are not powerful, and they absolutely are. Well, if someone just changes one thing, and that's actually not how it works, it's likelihood of confusion. And they're extremely powerful because the customer is going to see that design before they see the functionality in many cases, right? That's what they respond to. So, and design patents are not going to be nearly as expensive, I think, to get as utility patents in some instances. So between a very inexpensive trademark registration, an inexpensive copyright registration, and a well-placed design patent, you're golden. You're golden.
Yeah, what I like about those 3 tools, they're affordable, they're fairly quick. You got to plan a little bit ahead. They do take a little bit of time.
Right.
I want to talk about a little bit about the confusion for a minute. How do they test that confusion and to determine if they're infringing on a design? Is that something like holding up one, holding up the other and go, what do you think?
Well, you know, I forget the exact phraseology, but it's essentially, it's a similar analysis to trademark confusion, although patent attorneys listening would just pull their hair out that I said that. But there is a specific test that's slightly different than utility. But it's essentially, you know, would a customer be confused at this design, right, between these 2 designs? And there's very specific language, which I can't put my hands on right now, but it's a very different analysis than the straight up utility.
Okay. So wait a minute. So you're a patent attorney, right?
I am a patent attorney, trademark lawyer, copyright attorney, and data.
And you just talked me out of a utility patent? That's impossible.
It's true. It's true.
I've never heard that, and for 30 years. Okay. All right. Let's I love those 3 tools. I think they're fantastic for online. When is the utility help me for the functionality? When is that usually, what's a good tool for that? Is that a good tool for online? Not online, but in stores? I mean, when do I use that tool? Because that tool's more expensive and it's harder to prove.
Yeah, so get as much intellectual property protection as you can afford. So that, you know, it's a good question, and I contemplated you'd probably ask me something about this, because people always want to know, well, how much does it cost to get a patent? And it can really depend. And the reason it can depend on is it depends on the innovation. If you've got, and this is kind of a blanket, you know, set of advice here, but if your innovation is a combination of known components, in the same art space, then you're going to potentially have a very difficult time unless you are able to show unexpected results, commercial success, blah, blah, blah. That's going to be very expensive if you get it. On the other hand, if you've got an innovation that really is comprised of innovations or components from different or disparate technology classes to create something new, the office can't really say, oh, well, it's obvious and this art is analogous. Then it would be a little bit harder for the office to be successful at that argument. So I think that if you've got an innovation that is harder to prove that it's not obvious, it's going to be very expensive, right?
Oh, but I'm not talking about expense though. I'm talking about from a business perspective about using it, right? Because you gave me 3 tools where I can stop online sellers. Pretty easy. They're pretty affordable. I can notify them. I've got this, match it up. I've got a utility. How do I use that in the same way? Or can I? Or do I have to sue somebody to do that? Is that kind of where we're going with this a little bit, that I have to take it that far?
It depends, right? So if the innovation is something new as far as functionality, and you feel like that functionality is patentable and you can afford to get a utility patent, then absolutely, right? Because we're talking about online, there's some great tools online, but you may want to enforce that offline. You may want to enforce that in district court. You may want to enforce it at the ITC, right? This is about options. This is not saying that you've got to execute on all those options, but this is sort of about options.
It seems to me that we always put all the emphasis on utility patents, when in actuality, it's the other tools that are more helpful today for the online situations and for other situations, because they're easier to prove, they're more affordable, and you don't have to go to probably, hopefully not federal court or PTAB to make your point. Am I right about that?
I would have to say absolutely yes. I mean, what I would say is, I still say get the intellectual property you can afford. So if you've got an innovation that is, you've got a brand, a distinctive brand, you've got some original works of authorship, right? With whether it's packaging or an insert, but then you also have this unique functionality. If you can afford to do that, then that's great, right? But you're not going to pull all the levers in all the same places. And you're right, some levers are going to be easier to pull than others. So make sure you have that IP available to pull it.
Stephen, do you mind if I ask some questions about Walmart? Getting back to Walmart a little bit.
Now I'm done with Walmart, Andrew. I'm done, but go ahead. Now I'm done with Walmart, but go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right. So I just wanted to make a few statements, and you can tell me if I'm correct, Angela. So what you're saying is, and this is what I believe to be true, Walmart, for the most part, is not going to license your product. You're going to license your product to a company that sells to Walmart, not Walmart themselves, because most of the stuff that they're doing with their house brands, which people don't know, I think Walmart, what is one of their house brands? I forget. There's a couple house brands, but they're just trying to reduce costs.
Like a great value.
Yeah. They're just trying to reduce costs in generic items, chairs, maybe towels, different things like that. So the 2 questions I have for you is, if somebody is looking to venture and sell the product themselves, what kind of track record do they need to have had for selling the product? Stephen, with his guitar picks, when he was selling product in Walmart, he was selling it for quite some time. Sometimes they want to see you've been in business for years before they would take you on, because they don't want to crush you with Walmart being the only vendor that this company has. So what kind of history do you have to have with sales in order to sell your product directly to Walmart? Is my question.
Walmart has a checklist that they put out into the world, and I'm going to see if I can get my hands on it real quick.
Well, that's excellent.
Andrew, I think it's
actually a lot of information. Here it is right here.
I think it's changed a little bit, Andrew. I used to think, and I still think it is, I think they want to know how long you've been in business. I think they want to know how many stores. I think they want to know where you're manufactured. I think they want to know how fast you can ship, those type of things. But also what's really thrown the wrench into all those things, if you have eyeballs.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's really crazy right now, because maybe you've never shipped to one store.
Yeah,
Right?
I think what they want to do is for you to paint a story that you're going to be successful. And so maybe you've never been in a brick and mortar store before, but you've got some success with online sales and a lot of success.
Yeah.
I think if you're able to paint the picture that you are going to be successful, that you have access to capital, because one of the questions on this checklist is about factoring, I think. Do you have a factoring relationship with any financial entity? I mean, it's a 4-page checklist that they want you to kind of think through before you actually register for their to be a vendor. So I
Thank
think,
you.
yeah, so I think if you are able to paint the picture that you will be successful at the company using multiple levers, but it's important to show that you have access to capital, that you have, thought about a shipping schedule, that you have factored in costs. All of those kinds of things are important, not just one thing, I think. And I don't know if you've got to be in business a certain period of time. But again, you need to show that you are going to be successful there.
I think,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
no, I think the float is probably one of the most important parts, because those orders come in. Our first order was $500,000, and people don't realize, you're going to put that money out for at least 90 days. The one thing about Walmart, they did pay on time. Yeah. And that was really great. But boy, you're floating a lot of money from when you ship to when you're going to get that money back.
That's right.
Yeah. Now,
and that's the difficulty a lot of people have. They don't quite understand that float game.
I've got just one more Walmart question. So Stephen and I, we have a business. We coach and mentor students to license products, and we teach them to go to the manufacturers that sell at the retailer where they want to be. So if they want to get in Walmart and you got a shovel, well, if there's 2 companies selling shovels there, that would be a great company to approach, right? But sometimes our students will kind of do a little pull-through marketing. They have no intention of selling to a buyer at Walmart because they're not set up financially, or they don't want to run a business, but they'll get interest from a buyer. And then the buyer might get a little upset when they realize they can't deliver. Then they'll go to one of the Walmart vendors and go, well, Bob, the buyer over here wants it. So what do you think of that? How can you do that so you don't make the buyer upset to go, what? I thought you could sell this thing to me.
I don't know if that's really the best approach for a long-term relationship.
Mm-hmm.
If my position is, approach it like you want a long-term relationship with someone. I mean, think about, would you want somebody approaching you under false pretenses?
Well, wait. No, I think he framed that not quite correct.
Okay, because the way he framed it is like,
I know I think the way you frame it is this: you can get to just about anybody on the internet now through LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. And buyers are a little bit harder to get to, but you can't get to them, and they're interested. They want to see new products, and what we're talking about is you have a good sell sheet, maybe 3D computer generated rendering, or a product that looks like you want to buy it. It looks good. It looks real. You're not showing them something that doesn't. So you show the buyer and say, look, I'm considering, I want to know if this is a product you would carry. If there's is this my packaging right? Is there anything else I need to know that doesn't look right to you? Is this something your customers could possibly want? Because my marketing really sells the benefit of why I think your customer's going to love that.
Right.
So you're really asking to say, look, yes or no. You're not asking, hey, I'm ready. I want to sell it to you. Oh, no, I don't. I'm not ready. I think that was not quite framed right. And that way they might say, look, this is something of interest. They might say, do you have pricing yet? No, I don't have pricing yet. But I think everybody's gauging interest a little bit, a little test.
If that's the case, that happens all the time. So that is a yes. Andrew, you were testing me, I know. That's a hard no.
Yeah, I think there's a fine line. And I think Angela's right. I mean, anytime you want a long-term relationship with anybody, it's built on trust.
Right.
Right. It's the way you approach it. Normally I'm the detail guy, Stephen. This time you went into the details. So
I just
yeah,
want to make sure everybody.
I didn't make that clear.
Well, you were cutting a couple corners that made it look like something, but anyway, it's a great
You aren't
question.
being transparent. I agree 100%. You always want to be transparent.
It's a great question, and I'm a big believer in leveraging demand before I do too much.
Right.
Because if I can show that
to do that and who have, a great relationship with Walmart, who you're saying, hey, we've got a new brand that we're trying to stand up. Here are the products in the category. What if any of these might be of interest to you,
okay.
And they kind of go from there.
We're running out of time, and I got so many questions. I got so many questions. I'm dying here. Why don't we do this? Why don't we just go to questions? And I want to say two things before. My parents met and were born in Mississippi, so I'm really glad from Mississippi. I didn't know that. I don't get to meet too many people from Mississippi, so I'm really glad that's where you're from. Why don't we open the floor, Courtney, and see what people have to say? Yeah.
Yeah, so we have one question here from Shay Taylor, and I'll go ahead and just ask it here. She says, who do you reach out to if you want to license to one of their brands that they own? So to maybe rephrase that question, if you like one of the brands that's selling at Walmart and it's their own brand, is it even possible to license? Like, that is a perfect fit, but it's owned by Walmart, but it's still a perfect fit. I'm an inventor. I want to get that brand. Is that possible? Do you need inventory and still not licensing, or does it matter if you have inventory? It's their brand, so you can't add on to their brand.
So if I understand the question, let's say the brand is Great Value, right? That's a Great Value brand. This question was sort of asked when I did a talk in Austin. And essentially what the question was is essentially, how do you find out who the factory is making the product? I'm going to rephrase it that way. That would be the best way, because Walmart cares about Walmart's brands. They're not, and I'm just speaking from my own experience, I don't think they're interested in taking your concept brand, finding a factory to make it, and then, creating that under their label. They kind of know what they want from a private label perspective, and it's based on data. Stephen, you kind of joked about, Amazon just want, I can't, I wouldn't say that, but they know what sells well in their store, and they may want a product like that. So to say, hey, I've got this great idea, I'm not sure that would work. But if you're interested in maybe licensing to the factory that makes a product for Walmart, that might be a better approach. Not necessarily finding Walmart, but finding their factory.
Yeah, and that's really hard to do too. But I think what's really interesting, those products they private labeling, it's all because of the numbers.
Right.
And they don't look at something new that don't have the numbers.
Right. Yeah, that's not a part of a private label strategy. But one of the things I said before, when I talked to the Austin group, they're like, well, how am I supposed to find the factory? Many products are not made in the United States. And so if you are able to work with your World Trade Center, with their exporting team to find out kind of what factory is the factory of record, you may be able to find out the factory that's actually importing into the United States.
But guys,
what a great tip that is. I've never heard that tip ever.
Yeah, that's interesting. But if it's not a Walmart brand, Walmart sells so many brands. You just approach the manufacturer that's already in Walmart. If you license to them, you get your product in Walmart. It's just that simple. But I really like what Angela's talking about with regards to a Walmart brand. It's a lot more work and it's much harder to close. We had a company come on and they do tools and they do stuff for Home Depot. But it's hard to figure out who those companies are. It's a lot of extra work. And for the most part, they're performing on data. You got a new gadget. Well, that's really cool, but they're like, that's not their mindset.
I've never seen a company that sells a private label license an idea from an inventor in 31 years. And I probably won't see it ever either. But people ask.
They could approach the retailer. They could approach Walmart or Home Depot or whoever and show it to them. So it is a possibility. So I think what Angela is saying is fascinating, but it's a lot of extra work and it's much less likely to happen.
But so I'm just answering that particular question. What I advocate, I mean, it's a business strategy to do it. Another way to find out kind of who is doing some private label work, I was doing a little bit of research before the talk, just because it's like, oh, I wonder. You can find out a lot of information at the SEC for US companies that are doing private label stuff for Walmart, for example. I didn't realize this until I was snooping around, but for example, Dean Foods makes some great value products for Walmart for their private label brand. Would Dean Foods be interested in working with you? It depends. Maybe. If they have an open innovation, I don't know. But that is an example. So you're right. It is a little bit of work, but it can be done if you look down the right road.
Interesting.
That's great. Wonderful. Yeah, we've got another question here from John, and his question is, if I presented a product concept to Walmart, is there any chance they would buy the idea outright, providing it's something they like enough to manufacture?
So I'm gonna go back to what I'm calling a product concept is a prophetic product. It's something that exists on paper only. And I'm going to, again, say probably not, because they want to buy products. They don't want to buy product concepts. So if you can find a factory that can show some interest in that, yep. You can partner with the factory to present the product to Walmart, then that's how you do it.
You know what's amazing about Walmart? Over 20 years ago, I had this concept of a rotating label. And I thought it was going to be on these little pharmacy vials.
I remember that story in one of your books.
Yeah, and the first people I contacted was Walmart corporate that deals with the pharmacy. And they took my call and they explained to me exactly how they do it. And I was really amazed that they took that much time and basically told me it will never work. But they were so willing to explain to me and spend the time, and I sent it to them. But my experience was amazing with them. Yeah.
All right, let's see if we can get one more question in here, and then we'll slowly start to wrap up. We've got a question here from William, and his question is twofold. One, does Walmart online also require inventory to be sent to them, or can you sell from your own place? And number two, if you know the answer to this, what is the normal minimum stock that you need to carry at your location in order to put it?
Technical question, and I have no idea about stock or SKUs. I see some information about that. And there's a marketplace option. So you can drop ship. I think they're called marketplace sellers. And so you can, but they vet those sellers just like they vet everybody else. I'm not sure exactly what the criteria is, but there's a lot of information on Walmart about that. And I did find a link. So let me see if I can find it. I don't know if I can find that link quickly.
I think that's a good point, Courtney. There's a big difference between being in a Walmart brick and mortar store and being on Walmart.com.
Absolutely.
Massive difference.
There was a question. Okay, here it is. I'm going to just pop this into the chat.
I think with some of these details, you could probably research some of that information. I'm sure Walmart has it too, you guys. And but I think Andrew's right. There is a massive difference between the two.
People get on Walmart.com all the time, just like you can be I don't know the details. I've never done it. Just like being an Amazon vendor, just about anybody can get on Amazon if you do the right things. I think just about anybody can get on.
I would also recommend that if you're really serious that you want to sell into Walmart, find a sales rep. I spoke to someone the other day that's exactly what they do, and they just know the ins and outs of how to really make that work. The information is priceless. Before we wrap up, I want to say one thing. If I need if I need a trademark, can I call you?
Please do.
Okay. If I need a patent, can I call you?
Please do.
All right. See, okay, you guys, I want to make sure your information is down there too. I know we probably posted it, but you guys, Angela came on to give all this information. And like I said, she's really an amazing person in this space. But if you need any IP and you want someone that I completely trust, just after this call, which she talked me out of filing a non-provisional patent application. She's got my vote right away. Make sure you look her up.
You mind if I don't mean to interrupt you, but there were a couple questions, and I know you wanted to get to this pro bono.
Sure.
There were a couple questions about limited resources, and there is something in the US called patent pro bono, guys. If you are limited resources, there may be an option to help you with drafting patent applications. The USPTO has a lot of information on their website around what agencies can help, but what the office doesn't really have that. What they do is they facilitate the organizations to help people like you and work with people like me, because I've done plenty of pro bono work, patent pro bono in the past. So if you're interested and you feel like you are looking for patent pro bono assistance, go to the USPTO website, find your state, and then there will be a list of resources that you can then reach out to. They will vet you from an income perspective. They may make you watch some videos and certify that you've gotten yourself educated in the process. And then they will take your disclosure, the service is free.
Now, pro bono, explain what that means. It's free.
Pro bono is like for the good. There's low bono, which means, some people might opt to do things for very low cost, but pro bono is where practitioners like myself will donate their time to help people who are in that program file a patent application and prosecute that. Okay. And it's a tremendous resource. I have probably 2 or 3 clients. One person definitely got a patent through that process. I helped him with that. And it's real. It is,
and you're part of that. Now, what do you do? Because you help, but you're part of that program, aren't you?
So I sit on the board for the Patent Pro Bono Advisory Council. I was part of a small group of people who kind of helped stand that whole initiative up back in 2011-ish. And I've just been involved with it ever since. And I'm on the board. I've served as the pro bono committee at AIPLA, and I'm just, so if you need information, I'm happy to give you that information, but most of the information is going to be at the USPTO website, patent pro bono site.
Thank you for helping so many of us.
My pleasure.
Okay, right. Take it away, Courtney.
I wanted to get that out.
Thank you. I almost forgot. Thank you. That's why it's like the last thing we were talking about and we almost forgot. I'm sorry. Okay,
Wonderful.
Courtney.
All right. Yeah. So thank you so much, Angela. Really appreciate all of that knowledge there. Of course, everyone, please go ahead and type in your thank yous into the chat box. We love to send those off to our speakers. And with that said, I'd love to have everyone give a warm round of applause. So with that said, I'm going to allow the opportunity to unmute everyone, and everyone can go ahead and give her a warm applause. Ready? In 3, 2, 1.
Amazing.
Thank you. Great job. Thanks.
Thank you. That was fantastic.
Wonderful.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for that. We really appreciate that. And with that said, let's go ahead and do our family photos that we love to do at the end. So if everyone can go ahead and raise your hands, put your thumbs up, and Andrew will go ahead and take those photos for us.
All right, here we go. Keep your thumbs up, hands up, big smiles. There we go. Got page 1. And I get page 2, page 3. Not so many people live on page 4. A couple people on page 5. Well, there's a lot of pages here, people.
All right.
Come on. Oh, hold on, Stephen. We still got page 7.
Okay,
and
come on,
8.
everybody.
Last page. There we go. We got it. We got it.
All right. And with that said, of course, our next event is coming up. So save the date for November 24th. And also, while Stephen does go ahead and give his final remarks, tonight, per usual, we are sponsoring 5 of the inventor groups across the nation. And I will go ahead and post a link on that as well and share those 5 groups on our page.
Yeah, I just want to tell everybody, please support your local inventors group. Those leaders give a lot of their time. They're nonprofits. They're basically angels, and they're all over the place. So find your local inventors group, sign up, be part of it, help them help you. I cannot say enough about these groups across the country. They're there to save you time, energy, and money. Find your group and join.
And Courtney, this is a list of just 5. We've got a list of inventor groups all across the country on the IGA website, right?
That's right. Yeah, we're just sponsoring 5 for this event, but there's a good 50 some inventor groups across the nation. So feel free to go to our website and I'll share a link there here. While Stephen, would you like to say anything in closing for our October meeting?
I like to have Angela back because I'm not done with her yet. I've got some really hard questions. I mean, but I want to save it. I didn't get to the juicy ones this time. I thought I'd be really nice and kind, but the next time we're going to really hit her hard and see if we can rattle her a little bit. But I doubt that's going to happen. But thank you so much.
Stephen, intellectual property cage match. I think she might be able to.
I don't think I can win here. But I'm going to try.
John Wick of IP, but I don't want to scare anybody.
I'm going to try. But Angela, thank you so much, and for spending time with us. We really do appreciate it. It
was absolutely my pleasure. Thank you, everybody, for being a great audience.
All right. Good night, everybody.
We hope to see you all at our next meeting so we can bring you more expert information in the areas you need help in. Thanks again, everyone, for coming, and have a wonderful night. Bye, everyone.
Guys.